Gone with the Wind, an epic American historical romance film, made a remarkable mark by securing 10 Oscar awards in the 1930s. Adapted from Margaret Mitchell's 1936 novel, the movie resembles a tempest, swirling with numerous triumphs. However, its tumultuous production has become a fascinating subject for viewers. From the persistent search for the perfect Scarlet to constant shifts in management and discontent among actors, the narrative surrounding its creation seems almost devoid of miracles. Dive into this video to uncover the concealed intricacies behind the curtains of Gone with the Wind. A decade of devotion. Margaret Mitchell's magnum opus, Gone with the Wind, embarked on a remarkable journey from conception to cultural sensation. Published in 1936, the novel swiftly enraptured readers with its sweeping narrative against the backdrop of the American Civil War and Reconstruction era. Mitchell, a Georgia native born in 1900, poured her passion into the epic saga, initiating the writing process at a mere 25 years old. What adds an extra layer of intrigue to Mitchell's achievement is the clandestine nature of her endeavor. Despite investing over a decade in crafting the novel, she managed to conceal her literary aspirations from everyone in her life. The revelation only came when, much to the surprise of her friends and family, she announced her decision to send the manuscript for publication. One close friend reportedly reacted with disbelief, catching Mitchell off guard and momentarily causing her to question her own resolve. Fueled by uncertainty, she sent a telegram to the publishing company, expressing her desire to retract the manuscript. Fortunately, fate intervened, as one editor had already glimpsed at the masterpiece and recognized its undeniable brilliance, ensuring that Gone with the Wind would not be cast aside. The novel swiftly became a literary sensation, selling millions of copies and earning the prestigious Pulitzer Prize in 1937. However, the true zenith of its cultural impact was yet to come with the cinematic adaptation. Remarkably, just 3 years after its publication, Gone with the Wind was transformed into a cinematic masterpiece, winning an impressive 10 Academy Awards out of 13 nominations. The film, released in 1939, remains a testament to the cinematic prowess of its time. Despite the technological constraints of the era, the movie showcased unparalleled acting performances, breathtaking sets, and exquisite costumes. The adaptation seamlessly brought Mitchell's vivid characters and southern landscapes to life, solidifying its place in cinematic history. However, behind the glamorous facade of this cinematic triumph lay a tapestry of dark secrets. The production process was fraught with challenges, from the casting decisions to the behind-the-scenes conflicts. Despite the success and acclaim, the legacy of Gone with the Wind is complex, with contemporary perspectives casting a critical eye on its portrayal of race and historical events. The writer desired Groucho Marx to portray the tragic role of Rhett Butler, but the iconic character of Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind is a central figure in the narrative, described as tall, dark, and handsome, with an unparalleled charm and wit that captivated readers and would later captivate audiences on the silver screen. Margaret Mitchell, the author of the novel, initially distanced herself from the production process, but couldn't help expressing her preference for comedian Groucho Marx to take on the coveted role of Rhett Butler, a departure from the conventional casting expectations. However, David O. Selznick, the producer behind the ambitious adaptation, had a different vision. Selznick envisioned the role being embodied by actor Clark Gable, a Hollywood star with a charismatic presence and a rugged charm. Gable at the time was navigating the challenges of a divorce that left him financially strained. Despite his initial reluctance, driven by personal circumstances and financial necessity, Gable ultimately accepted the role of Rhett Butler. Gable's journey into the character was not without its complexities. In one notable scene, he caused a stir among the crew by adamantly refusing to shed tears, deeming it unmanly. This stance created some tension on set, but also added a layer of authenticity to Gable's portrayal of the strong-willed and independent Rhett. Despite Gable's initial reservations, his performance as Rhett Butler has since become legendary and is widely celebrated by fans of the film. His on-screen charisma and portrayal of the complex character added depth and nuance to the narrative, earning him acclaim and solidifying his place in cinematic history. The inaugural director faced dismissal by David O. Selznick. The tumultuous production of Gone with the Wind extended beyond casting challenges and substance abuse, reaching into the realm of behind-the-scenes conflicts that would shape the course of the film's development. George Cukor, a highly regarded director, initially took on the role of guiding the cinematic adaptation. However, his collaboration with producer David O. Selznick was marred by intense clashes and creative differences. But Selznick's tendency to micromanage every aspect of the film created a strained working relationship with Cukor. The director found himself at odds with Selznick's interference in the creative process, leading to heated arguments and a palpable tension on set. Ultimately, the discord reached a breaking point, and Selznick made the controversial decision to fire Cukor, citing the director's purported slow pace as the official reason. However, a more disquieting theory emerged, suggesting that Cukor's dismissal may have been rooted in the director's open homosexuality. At the time, being openly gay was stigmatized in Hollywood, and it's alleged that actor Clark Gable, one of the key figures in the film, held bigoted views against Cukor's sexual orientation. This darker speculation implies that Cukor's firing may have been influenced by discriminatory attitudes prevalent in the industry during that era. The true reason behind Cukor's termination from Gone with the Wind remains elusive, shrouded in a cloud of uncertainty and speculation. Selznick's official explanation of Cukor's work pace may have been a convenient cover for the more controversial issues underlying the decision. Whether it was a clash of artistic visions, professional friction, or prejudice, the circumstances surrounding Cukor's departure continue to fuel debates and contribute to the enigmatic nature of the film's production history. A worthwhile investment. David O. Selznick, a prominent movie producer, was at a crossroads in his career, eager to find his next major project after a less than successful foray into a Civil War-themed film. His previous attempt in this genre had fallen short of expectations, leaving Selznick hesitant to delve into another project with a similar historical backdrop. However, fate had other plans for him, and an unexpected opportunity arose. In 1936, the same year Margaret Mitchell's magnum opus, Gone with the Wind, was published, Selznick found himself confronted with a compelling proposition. Although he had not read the novel himself, the chairman of his production company exerted pressure on him to consider adapting the book into a film. Despite his reservations and lack of personal familiarity with the source material, Selznick found himself in a challenging position. Caught between a desire for a fresh cinematic direction and the persuasive influence of his company's chairman, Selznick eventually yielded. In a pivotal moment, he decided to acquire the film rights to Gone with the Wind. This momentous decision came at a considerable cost. Selznick purchased the rights for an astounding sum of $50,000. This hefty investment underscored the perceived potential of the novel, and Selznick embarked on a cinematic journey that would ultimately redefine the landscape of Hollywood. The decision to adapt Gone with the Wind into a film proved to be a pivotal, and in hindsight, an astute move for Selznick. Little did he know that this acquisition would lead to one of the most iconic films in cinematic history. The investment, both financial and creative, laid the foundation for a cinematic masterpiece that would go on to win numerous accolades and become an indelible part of American cultural history. At the time, this transaction represented the highest amount ever paid for the rights to a literary work. Selznick, cognizant of the staggering financial investment, likely grappled with the weight of what was then considered a high-risk venture. However, this ambitious move would ultimately prove to be a stroke of cinematic genius. The decision to acquire the rights at such a substantial cost reflected Selznick's belief in the potential of Mitchell's epic novel. The entertainment industry had yet to witness a transaction of this magnitude, and Selznick's audacious move set the stage for a production that would push the boundaries of filmmaking and storytelling. Margaret Mitchell, the creative force behind Gone with the Wind, initially harbored reservations about actively participating in the production process. However, despite her desire for a hands-off approach, Mitchell couldn't help but be flattered by the meticulous work and dedication that Selznick and his team poured into bringing her literary masterpiece to life on the silver screen. The sheer scale and ambition of the project left an indelible impression on Mitchell, and she reportedly found joy in witnessing her characters and narrative come to life in the cinematic realm. While Mitchell may not have actively engaged in the day-to-day intricacies of the filmmaking process, her appreciation for the endeavor was evident. The collaborative spirit between the author and filmmaker manifested in a production that seamlessly captured the essence of the novel. Mitchell's willingness to entrust her work to the capable hands of Selznick and his team allowed for a creative synergy that transcended individual contributions. As production unfolded, the anxieties that may have accompanied Selznick's initial investment transformed into a resounding success. Gone with the Wind premiered in 1939 and became a cultural phenomenon, captivating audiences worldwide. The film's success not only justified Selznick's bold financial commitment, but also solidified its place in cinematic history. Tragic battle with substance abuse. During the production of Gone with the Wind, David O. Selznick emerged as a formidable figure, steering the cinematic ship through the tumultuous waters of one of the most ambitious film projects of its time. However, behind the scenes, Selznick's influence was accompanied by a complex and troubling aspect: his frequent use of drugs, a habit that cast a shadow over the production process. Stories from the set paint a vivid picture of Selznick's reliance on prescription drugs, with one actor, Evelyn Keyes, describing how he consumed pills like popcorn. The pressure surrounding the film was immense, given that Gone with the Wind boasted the highest budget of any movie at that time. The fear of financial ruin loomed large, and Selznick, desperate to ensure the film's success, turned to prescription drugs to cope with the mounting stress. The drugs seemed to have a dual effect on Selznick. On one hand, they instilled in him a sense of confidence in his abilities as a producer. However, this newfound assurance came at a price. Selznick's substance abuse fueled a compulsion to micromanage every facet of the film, from the script to the set design, and even the performances of the actors. The consequences of this were acutely felt by the cast and crew, who found themselves subjected to irregular shooting schedules and enduring hours of Selznick's meticulous scrutiny. The toll of Selznick's drug use on the production process cannot be overstated. While his vision and dedication were undeniably instrumental in bringing Gone with the Wind to fruition, the price paid by those involved was significant. The erratic behavior stemming from his substance abuse added an extra layer of challenge to an already complex and demanding project. The pioneer black actor to receive an Oscar. Hattie McDaniel's groundbreaking performance as Mammy in Gone with the Wind not only left an indelible mark on cinematic history, but also shattered barriers, making her the first black person to win an Academy Award. However, the accolades she received were tempered by the harsh reality of racial segregation that persisted in the 1930s. The era was marked by the Jim Crow laws, a system of legalized racial segregation that permeated every aspect of life for African Americans. The Oscars ceremony itself was not immune to these discriminatory practices. Despite her historic win, McDaniel faced the painful irony of being buried from the Vinway Dway to racial segregation policies. The award ceremony was so segregated that McDaniel was not allowed to sit with her fellow nominees and guests. David O. Selznick, recognizing the significance of McDaniel's achievement and unwilling to let her be marginalized, took a stand. He lobbied tirelessly to ensure that McDaniel could attend the ceremony. Although she was ultimately allowed to enter the venue, the compromise was that she had to sit in the back of the room, a stark illustration of the racial inequality that persisted even in the face of professional recognition. To compound the injustice, other black actors who contributed to Gone with the Wind were denied entry to the Oscars altogether. McDaniel stood alone as the sole African-American presence at the ceremony that year. Her victory was both historic and bittersweet, as it underscored the stark contrast between the acknowledgement of her talent on screen and the systemic racism that persisted off-screen. The Jim Crow laws, a stain on American history, continued to enforce racial segregation until their abolition in 1964. The struggles faced by Hattie McDaniel and other black actors in the 1930s serve as a painful reminder of the deeply entrenched racial prejudices that marred the entertainment industry and society at large. While progress has been made since then, the legacy of individuals like McDaniel continues to inspire conversations about equality, representation, and the ongoing fight against systemic racism. The gender wage disparity. The gender wage disparity that persists today is not a new phenomenon, and the making of Gone with the Wind in the 1930s starkly highlights the egregious pay gaps that existed in the entertainment industry, even among top-billed actors. Clark Gable, who portrayed Rhett Butler, worked a total of 71 days on the film and received a substantial payment of $125,000 for his contribution. In contrast, Vivien Leigh, who played the lead role of Scarlett O'Hara and worked more than 50 additional days, clocking in at 125 days, was shockingly compensated with a mere $25,000 for her extensive efforts. This glaring pay disparity underscored the prevailing gender biases and economic inequalities that disproportionately affected women, even in high-profile film productions. Leigh's significantly lower compensation, despite her substantial screen time and pivotal role in the film, reflected the deeply entrenched gender norms of the time, where male actors routinely received higher pay than their female counterparts. This discrepancy was especially glaring given that Leigh's portrayal of Scarlett O'Hara was central to the success of Gone with the Wind, contributing significantly to the film's enduring legacy. The wage disparity extended beyond gender, affecting African American actors in the film as well. Notably, Hattie McDaniel, who delivered an Academy Award-winning performance as Mammy, faced substantial wage inequity. Despite her invaluable contribution to the success of the film, McDaniel and other black actors encountered systemic discrimination and received significantly lower compensation than their white counterparts. The brink of tragic alteration. The inclusion of a now infamous line in Gone with the Wind marked a pivotal moment in the history of cinema censorship and the defiance of moral guidelines set by the Hays Code during the 1930s. In Margaret Mitchell's epic novel, the character Rhett Butler utters the iconic line to Scarlett O'Hara, saying, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn." This bold statement became a defining moment in the narrative, capturing the essence of Rhett's indifference and marking a crucial point in the character dynamics. However, during the 1930s, a stringent set of moral guidelines known as the Hays Code dictated what could and could not be shown or said in American films. Even the relatively mild swear word damn was deemed inappropriate under these regulations. The Hays Code, established in 1934, aimed to uphold moral standards in the film industry, imposing restrictions on content ranging from language to depictions of violence and sexuality. David O. Selznick, the producer of Gone with the Wind, recognized the significance of Rhett Butler's line to both the novel and the cinematic adaptation. He understood that the omission of this pivotal moment would diminish the impact of the story. Selznick's persistence and conviction. Knowing that he needed to overcome the Hays Code's restrictions, Selznick embarked on a determined and lengthy lobbying effort to secure permission to include the line in the film. Selznick's persistence and conviction eventually paid off after months of struggle. He successfully argued that the inclusion of the line was integral to the artistic integrity of the work and a faithful representation of Mitchell's novel. This victory against the Hays Code showcased the power and influence of filmmakers in negotiating artistic expression within the confines of the regulatory framework. The triumphant inclusion of, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," in Gone with the Wind became a watershed moment, challenging the censorship norms of its time and contributing to the gradual erosion of the Hays Code. While the Hays Code persisted until 1968, the defiance demonstrated by Selznick in securing this line marked a step toward a more permissive era in filmmaking, where artistic expression would have greater latitude in the years to come. Casting journey. The casting of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind marked a pivotal moment in the film's production, and the selection of Vivien Leigh for the iconic role was not without its share of challenges and controversy. Leigh was just one of the 1,400 women considered for the lead role, facing fierce competition in the audition process. The immediate hurdle she encountered was the stark contrast between her British background and Scarlett O'Hara's quintessentially Southern character. Scarlett, a proud Southern belle, spoke with a deep Southern accent, a dialect vastly different from Leigh's British origins. During her audition, Leigh grappled with finding the right tone and dialect, almost jeopardizing her chance when she unintentionally adopted a more Northern Yankee accent. Despite the initial struggle, Leigh persevered and eventually found her footing. Her determination and acting prowess ultimately secured her the coveted role of Scarlett O'Hara, a character deeply embedded in American literary and cinematic history. However, the announcement of a British actress playing such an iconic Southern character triggered a wave of backlash, with criticism and skepticism echoing through the industry and among the public. The Daughters of the Confederacy, a group with strong ties to Southern heritage and history, emerged as a vocal opponent of Leigh's casting. Outraged by what they perceived as a misrepresentation of their Southern culture, they actively campaigned for a recasting. However, despite their efforts, the decision to cast Leigh as Scarlett O'Hara remained unchanged. The journey of Vivien Leigh in portraying Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind was marked by both physical discomfort and personal struggles. Underscoring the challenges she faced to deliver an extraordinary performance. Leigh's on-screen elegance and poise as Scarlett O'Hara were achieved under less than ideal conditions. Throughout much of the film, she was compelled to endure the constraints of an exceptionally uncomfortable corset, a garment designed to shape and accentuate the silhouette of women in the fashion of the time. Adding to the discomfort, producer David O. Selznick insisted on her wearing additional tape to enhance the visibility of her cleavage, an uncomfortable and intrusive demand that added a layer of physical strain to her already challenging role. Beyond the physical discomfort, Leigh grappled with her own internal struggles. The actress, who would later be recognized as one of the most accomplished performers of her generation, faced the complexities of bipolar disorder. The intense stress of the production process exacerbated her condition, leading to notable mood swings. Balancing the demands of her personal life with the pressures of portraying an iconic character like Scarlett O'Hara required a resilience that went far beyond acting. Despite numerous challenges, Leigh's performance in Gone with the Wind is universally acclaimed as extraordinary. Her ability to overcome physical discomfort and personal struggles is a testament to her dedication and talent as an actress. One of the most memorable moments that cemented Leigh's place in cinematic history is the iconic monologue delivered halfway through the film. This scene continues to be quoted by fans, highlighting the lasting impact of her performance. What do you think about the behind-the-scenes secrets of Gone with the Wind? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. We hope you found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Jean-Claude Van Damme, the likes of whom we have never seen again in the action movies category since the curtains closed on him, resulting in his disappearance from stardom. Although he was a name and face that filled the minds of old and young alike in the 1990s, Van Damme has vanished from their thoughts. Join us as we uncover the untold truth of what happened to Jean-Claude Van Damme, taking a deep dive into the part of his life that has remained shrouded in darkness. Early life. Before we delve into the details, we first need to understand what made Jean-Claude Van Damme the man we know today. Jean-Claude Camille François van Varenberg, popularly known as Jean-Claude Van Damme, was born on the 18th of October 1960 in Berchem Saint, Agade, Brussels, Belgium, to a florist mother, Eliana van Varenberg, and an accountant father, Eugene van Varenberg. His parents' different origins meant that Van Damme was bilingual. He was brought up as Roman Catholic, although his grandmother from his father's side was Jewish. Van Damme began martial arts training at the age of 10 when he was enrolled in a Shotokan karate school. He focused on Shotokan karate and kickboxing, eventually earning his black belt in karate at the age of 18. Van Damme would go on to earn the rank of second Dan black belt. Coupled with his impressive training, Van Damme had joined the gym where he would constantly lift weights, building an impressive physique at a young age. His impressive physique would lead to him winning the Mr. Belgium bodybuilding title. Van Damme was known for his impressive variety of sports and exercises focused on building his muscle strength and defining his body. At the age of 16, Van Damme took up ballet and spent 5 years studying it and learning from the workouts. In his words, ballet is an art, but it's also one of the most difficult sports. If you can survive a ballet workout, you can survive a workout in any other sport. That was not the end for the bodybuilder, kickboxer, and ballet dancer. Van Damme went further, taking up both Taekwondo and Muay Thai to master every sport that would give him total control of his body and also help him to be better. Van Damme had found what he was good at an early age, grooming himself for the perfect moment that would lead to the break he needed. Career. When Van Damme was only 12 years old, he joined the Centre National de Karate, National Centre of Karate, where he met his sensei, Claude Goetz, in Belgium. Van Damme trained with Goetz for 4 years before earning a spot on the Belgian karate team. Goetz was not the only teacher Van Damme learned under. Years later, he would train in full-contact karate and kickboxing with Donique Valera. Van Damme had chosen to better himself because, according to him, it was tough growing up. I was kind of geeky and physically I was not gifted. By age 15, Van Damme had bettered himself in his karate. Confident in his abilities, he started his career in competitive karate in Belgium. Between 1976 and 1980, Van Damme would have a total of 44 wins and only 4 losses in tournament and non-tournament semi-contact matches, which was quite impressive. It was not the only way that Van Damme would achieve success in his karate career. With his history of wins, Van Damme had become a known name, joining the Belgium karate team. They went on to win the European Karate Championship on December 26, 1979, at La Coupe et François Pursuit Karate Tournament in Brussels. Van Damme went on to compete in the Challenge Coupe des Espoirs Karate Tournament. It was a 3-day event that would earn him a name for himself. He went on to win against 25 opponents before finally taking a loss against his teammate, Angelo Spataro, in the finals. Although he was displeased by his loss, he managed to raise eyebrows and set tongues wagging at his impressive survival tactics during the tournament. On March 8, 1980, a 20-year-old Van Damme fought against former teammate Patrick Teugels at the Forest National Arena in Brussels, Belgium. The match happened alongside the main event, the Dan Macaruso Donique Valera Professional Karate Association Light Heavyweight World Championship bout. This was not the first time the two would be meeting in a fight. Van Damme had received victory over Teugels before. In 1977, however, unfortunately, Teugels had also defeated Van Damme, twice by decision. Despite his impressive physique and what was slowly turning out to be an impressive career, Van Damme had been predicted to lose this match by many who believed that Patrick Teugels, who had just come off an impressive showing at the World Association of Kickboxing Organization World Championships only 4 months before. His qualifications and his 2 victories over Van Damme meant that he was a more impressive fighter, leaving no doubts in the minds of onlookers that he would come out victorious. In a miraculous turn of events, the undaunted and relentless Van Damme proved to everyone looking that he deserved what it took to be the winner, ending the match with a TKO only in the first round of the match, which Patrick Teugels admitted to in an interview. Over 30 years after his victory, Van Damme would say that that fight was his most memorable match. He had managed to shut the mouths of those who could never have expected him to win, cementing the memory of the event in their minds forever. Between 1977 and 1982, Van Damme would record a total of 18 victories in 19 fights, but only one. Van Damme's impressive record had caught the attention of some movie producers, and he would be given his first acting role. He starred in the movie Woman Between Wolf and Dog, a Belgian-French film, although he was uncredited for his role in the film. In 1980, Van Damme caught the attention of the publisher and editor Mike Anderson of the professional karate magazine and multiple European champion Geert Lemmens. The two believed he had the prospect of becoming one of the greatest. However, Van Damme did not stay long enough to prove them right, retiring from competition in 1982. In 1979, Van Damme put a halt to his life as a flower boy, selling flowers in restaurants to diners, and took out a loan to open a gym. He managed to do just that, opening the gym which welcomed everyone. According to him, his gym catered to karate, dancing, aerobics, bodybuilding, everything. The gym, which he named California Gym, after his desire to move to the United States, attracted a lot of people. Van Damme used the pieces of training he received in the various forms of arts and sports to create the perfect space for all. I wrote special training programs for people, and it was a very upbeat atmosphere with music. With a business plan like the one he'd concocted, he was bound to succeed, and yet at the peak of his success, when he had begun to pull in $15,000 per month, he made a crazy decision. When I decided to sell my gym, my father thought I was crazy. He said, "What the hell are you doing? You have the best gym in Brussels, you have a sports car, a beautiful apartment, and you're making so much money that you can have anything you want. Now you're going to sell your business and go to America." He was very upset. Van Damme's decision did not sit well with his father, and yet there was nothing Eugene could do to stop his son from following the path he had dreamed of for a long time and could finally see at his reach. Would Van Damme get the Hollywood life he'd always dreamed of, or would he fail and return home with nothing to show for his efforts? Van Damme's early works. In 1982, following his decision to quit competitions, Van Damme and his childhood friend left Belgium with their eyes and hearts set on the United States, where they hoped to achieve their dreams of working in the entertainment industry and becoming big-time actors. As the land of dreams welcomed him with promises of opportunities on end, Van Damme's heart continued to hold strong, although things did not take an immediate turn for success. Van Damme and Casey did many odd jobs to support themselves as they waited for the big break they needed. Their first job on a movie set was as extras in Breakin', a hip-hop dance film that was made in 1984 by Cannon Films. The two, along with other extras, can be seen dancing in the background during a dance demonstration. Van Damme would form a friendship with action martial arts film star Chuck Norris around that time. The two bonded over their mutual love for martial arts, sparring together during their free time. Due to his physique and his knowledge of martial arts, Norris offered Van Damme a job as a bouncer at his bar, Woody's Wharf. Unfortunately, that was not enough for his expenses, and Van Damme ended up getting more jobs as a limousine driver and offering private lessons and a karate instructor to make ends meet. Although the first few years he spent in the United States were not as easy as he dreamt they would be, with Van Damme describing it as being particularly difficult, he struggled to keep things going, not wanting to return to his father, disgraced and battered by the hopes he held on to. Excluding $2,000, Van Damme had placed the rest of his money, which he earned from the sale of his gym, into a European bank, which meant that his finances were not quite great. Van Damme took to running every night in Santa Monica, a task he set for himself to ensure that he did not suffer emotional distress. Van Damme soon registered at the world-renowned Gold's Gym, where he trained for years in hopes of keeping his mental health in check. Although he did not know it at the time, this routine did more than maintain his mental health. It was what he needed to survive those years. Van Damme had developed a routine outside of exercising to maintain his mental health. He had developed a specific routine that worked for him while he continued to participate in casting calls, in hopes of a role that would bring him out of the state he was in, financially and otherwise. On Wednesdays, he purchased the Dramalog magazine, not because he enjoyed spending his time on it, but because it was the only way he could find out about available roles. On Thursdays, he would send out his picture along with his resume to various studios that had placed a casting call in hopes of being called for a role. Van Damme's mission was to succeed at all costs, even if that meant making up stories. Van Damme would call up movie studios claiming to be an actor from Brussels with an investor from Hong Kong. He and his friend developed a method. Van Damme had instructed him to pretend to be an investor willing to invest in a movie Van Damme would star in, but requiring additional funding to make it possible. With their plan completely thought out, Van Damme met with several producers who became more willing to hear him out following the call with his fake investor friend. Van Damme did not have any plans of securing any roles through his fraudulent acts. He only wished to be able to meet with producers and have his name put out there, which was what happened eventually. In 1984, only 2 years after he arrived in America, Van Damme's first opportunity that wasn't a role as an extra would come. The action film, Missing in Action, which featured his friend Chuck Norris, was released by Cannon Films, and Van Damme would go on to be credited with the stunt team crew. In the same year, he was given a role in Monaco Forever, a short comedy film. Van Damme's first major role came through a martial arts film, No Retreat, No Surrender. The movie premiered on May 2nd, 1986, in Los Angeles. The movie starred Kurt McKinney, who played Jason Stilwell, a U.S. teenager who learns karate and defends his martial arts dojo against a Soviet martial artist played by Van Damme. Van Damme's role as a Russian villain was well received. Van Damme and McKinney were also set to star in the second part of the movie. However, they both backed out. The following year, in 1987, Van Damme worked with director John McTiernan in the movie Predator as an alien. However, he would be removed from the movie and replaced with Kevin Peter Hall. Although the character had been intended for Van Damme with hopes that his martial arts skills would make the alien seem more agile, it did not take long for the film's director to realize that he had made a mistake with the casting. "I like to breathe, and they're going to do my head and everything," Van Damme recalls. "They put it in my mouth like a tube to breathe through. I was covered in that cast for at least 20 minutes. It was boiling hot. My friend told me, if you cannot breathe, just wiggle your finger and I'll pull that stuff away from you. And I did it. I started to panic. And they go, 'No, 5 more minutes.' With his constant complaints of being too hot and prone to passing out in the suit, they chose to cast someone else. Kevin Peter Hall turned out to be a better cast for the role. With his impressive height of over 7 feet tall, he presented a more physically imposing alien. Van Damme allegedly also chose to opt out of the role because he was merely an upcoming artist, and although this was a big role, it would not do him much good if it did not put his face out there for others to see and take note of. Following the release of the movie, which turned out to be a success, Van Damme said that although he appreciated the movie, he did not regret declining the role and being replaced by another. Although it seemed like things were not going well, Van Damme's breakout movie was only around the corner. In 1988, he starred in Bloodsport, which was based on what has been alleged over the years to be a true story of Frank Dux. The film was shot on a budget of $1.5 million. However, it went ahead to become a U.S. box office hit and earned $50 million. The movie is about a U.S. Army captain, Frank Dux, played by Van Damme, who trained nearly all his life in the ways of ninjutsu by Senzo Tanaka, taking the place of Tanaka's deceased son Shingo in the illegal martial arts tournament Kumite in Hong Kong. At the point of casting, Van Damme was still a struggling artist who begged for roles, slept in cars and garages because he was homeless, and sometimes resorted to stealing food so he didn't die of starvation. However, this movie was the beginning of the end of his poverty and suffering in the U.S. With the failures and disappointments Van Damme had faced as he tried to make his dreams a reality, with no chance of success in sight, he couldn't have realized just how much things were about to change for the better, proving that he hadn't made a mistake in choosing to leave a successful career as a gym owner for a dream of glitz and glamour, rise to fame. With Bloodsport becoming a success, Van Damme began to receive even more movie roles that would lead to the beginning of his rise to fame. Van Damme would star in Black Eagle in the same year of 1988, where he would play a Russian villain. Cannon Films offered him a choice to play the lead in one of 3 movies: Delta Force 2, American Ninja 3, or Cyborg, a cyberpunk martial arts film directed by Albert Pyun. Van Damme chose to star in Cyborg, which premiered in 1989. The film was a low-budget box office success, which paved the way to 2 sequels, neither of which Van Damme made an appearance in. Van Damme would once again star in a Cannon Films production in the movie Kickboxer, which was released in the same year. The movie turned out to be highly successful, with a box office return of over $50 million just on a budget of $3 million. The movie would turn into a franchise with 4 sequels following its massive success. However, much like Cyborg, he did not appear in any of them. 1990 came with Van Damme starring in movies like Death Warrant and Lionheart. Lionheart was directed by Sheldon Lettick, a co-writer for the movie Bloodsport. In his words, the first movie to demonstrate that Van Damme was more than just a flash in the pan karate guy who would never rise above simplistic low-budget karate movies. The movie did not only receive acclaim for its plot or Van Damme's spectacular action, but also for the scene which showed a nude Van Damme from the rear, part which had become even better as a result of Van Damme's constant maintenance of his physique. When asked about it, Lettick said, "It became a very memorable moment for the ladies in the audience and for the gay guys as well. Showing off his butt, clothed or unclothed, almost became a signature trademark of his after that." In 1991, the movie Double Impact, which Van Damme starred in, was released. Also directed by Lettick, it saw Van Damme playing the role of twin brothers, Alex and Chad Wagner, estranged twins who fight to avenge the death of their parents. The film was received with mixed reviews when it premiered, with the Los Angeles Times claiming that the film delivers the goods and Variety disagreeing, as they predicted the movie to be a flop. Despite Variety's dislike for the plotline and their inability to see the movie become a success, it managed to gross over $23 million in the first month, making a total of $30 million in the US alone. Other critics years after the movie premiered have sung in similar tunes to Los Angeles Times, perceiving the movie to be fun and action-packed, with good comical moments and a good performance by Van Damme, who played 2 roles. Van Damme's role in the movies he starred had made him one of the newest sensations in the industry. In 1992, he starred in one of the biggest movies of the year, Universal Soldier, where he played a US soldier during the Vietnam War who exchanged shots with Sergeant Andrew Scott, played by Dolph Lundgren. After he realized that the sergeant had gone insane and experienced sheer joy in disfiguring civilians, the soldiers were later restored to life along with other previously dead soldiers for a secret army project. At the 1992 Cannes Film Festival, Van Damme and Lundgren were seen in the middle of a heated conversation that almost came to blows when they pushed each other. However, they were later separated, putting an end to what might have turned physical. Although some believed that they truly were at each other's throats, the majority believed it to be a publicity stunt. Universal Soldier premiered in theaters on July 10, 1992, and was successful, raking in over $65 million overseas and over $36 million in US ticket sales. Altogether, the movie earned a total of $102 million worldwide, going way over its $23 million budget. In 1999, Universal Soldier: The Return would be released, banking on the success of the first release to make it even more successful. However, the movie turned out to be a flop, debuting at #4 at the box office. In 2009, Universal Soldier: Regeneration would be released despite the negative reviews the sequel received. However, this time the movie turned out to be a success, receiving only positive reviews. Van Damme would star in a lot of other successful movies following Universal Soldier, due to the popularity he had gained. He appeared in movies like Nowhere to Run in 1993, making a cameo appearance in Last Action Hero. He starred in Hard Target in 1994. Also released in 1994 was Time Cop, where he played a time-traveling cop. The film turned out to be a huge success, grossing over $100 million worldwide. He also starred in Inferno in 1999. In 2008, Van Damme returned to the mainstream with the limited theatrical release of the 2008 film JCVD. The film received so many positive reviews from critics, and his performance in the film was tagged as the second best of the year, following Heath Ledger's The Joker in The Dark Knight. Current works. Though, in 2010, he would star in a movie he directed himself, Full Love. In that same year, he turned down a role in the movie The Expendables, and the role went to his former cast member from the movie Universal Soldier Dolph Lundgren. 2011 saw him voicing Master Croc in the animation film Kung Fu Panda 2, and he would go on to star in the TV show Behind Closed Doors, which was his own reality show. The show would show him as a family man, including his vulnerabilities like the struggles he faces and his upcoming fight. In 2012, he played the main villain in The Expendables 2, which was a film series following a group of mercenaries on a quest for vengeance against a rival mercenary, Van Damme. The film turned out to be a massive success, grossing over $310 million worldwide. Van Damme would appear in commercials for Coors Light beer, where he was poised on a snow-covered mountain dressed in a sleeveless denim jacket. That would not be the only commercial he appeared in. On the 21st of October 2012, he was honored with a life-size statue of himself in his hometown of Brussels. He told reporters during the unveiling of the statue, "Belgium is paying me back something, but really it's to pay back to the dream. So when people come by here, it is not Jean-Claude Van Damme, but it's a guy from the street who believed in something. I want the statue to represent that." In November 2013, Van Damme appeared in another advertisement, released on YouTube by Volvo Trucks, which showed Van Damme in the most epic of splits, while perched with each foot on the rear-view mirrors of two Volvo trucks. The video quickly circulated, garnering more than 35 million views in the first week of its release. Between 2014 and 2023, Van Damme appeared in more movies, playing both lead roles and supporting roles in the US and elsewhere. In 2023, he featured both his game and likeness as Johnny Cage in the Mortal Kombat game. Following his break into Hollywood, Van Damme lived a life that could be described as a dream. From the love he received from men and women alike to the roles he acted in, he received positive reviews from critics. However, not everything was as rosy in his life. Let us look at the controversies that surrounded him. Controversies. Van Damme's life was not without controversies that threatened to put a damper on the life he'd only just begun to enjoy. Lawsuit and fight record. In 1997, Frank Dux filed a lawsuit of $50,000 against Van Damme. The martial artist whom Van Damme had portrayed in Bloodsport claimed he had co-written the film and had also been consulted. Dux also claimed that Van Damme had lied about his history and knowledge of martial arts, stating that during their consultations, Van Damme had shown a lack of knowledge of the martial arts skills he once claimed to have possessed. However, Van Damme's lawyer Martin Singer discarded those claims as false, responding to them. Chuck Zito. Van Damme would be faced with another controversy when bodyguard and stuntman Chuck Zito began dating his estranged wife, Darcy Lapierre. Zito was allegedly unhappy when Lapierre claimed that Van Damme had abused her, while the two moved for their divorce and had chosen to take matters into his own hands. On February 6, 1998, Zito, who had been Van Damme's bodyguard and did stunts on the film Nowhere to Run, was reported by New York Daily News to have punched Van Damme at the Scores strip club in Manhattan. Zito recalled in his 2002 autobiography that he suffered a broken hand as a result of punching Van Damme several times at the club after Van Damme made some derogatory remarks about him to a club bouncer. Van Damme denied the allegations days later when he appeared on Inside Edition and challenged Zito to a fight. Kadyrov event in October 2011, Van Damme faced some criticism from human rights groups when he attended the 35th birthday of Chechen President Ramzan Kadyrov. Van Damme and other celebrities, including Seal and Hilary Swank, had been urged by the groups to cancel their appearances as a result of the abuses carried out under Kadyrov. Human Rights Watch released a statement that said Ramzan Kadyrov is linked to a litany of horrific human rights abuses. It's inappropriate for stars to get paid to party with him. And getting paid to be part of such a lavish show in Chechnya trivializes the suffering of countless victims of human rights abuses there. Much like the controversies he faced, Van Damme's life was filled with just as many ups and downs that caused the public's perception to maintain a constant switch. Personal life. By the mid-1990s, Van Damme had discovered that Hollywood life was not the glitz and glamour he had thought it to be. Although he reveled in his fame and fortune, the stress of constant filming coupled with the time-consuming promotion of his films meant that he rarely had time for himself. Van Damme soon developed a cocaine habit to help keep him active, spending up to $10,000 a week and consuming up to 10 grams per day by 1996. He was arrested for driving under the influence in 1999. Although he attempted drug rehabilitation, all efforts proved unsuccessful. In 1998, he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. In 2011, Van Damme sat with the British reality show Behind Closed Doors to speak about his condition. In the interview, he said, "Sometimes you're going to like me, and sometimes you're going to hate me. But what can I do? I'm not perfect. I'm an extreme bipolar, and I'm taking medication for this. When I was young, I was suffering from those swing moods. In the morning, the sky was blue when I was going to school, and to me, the sky was black. I was so sad." Van Damme was married a total of 5 times to 4 different women. His third wife, Gladys Portuguese, a bodybuilder, remained married to him until 1992. The two had 2 children together, Christopher, who was born in 1987, and Bianca Brigitte, who was born in 1990. Before his divorce, he began an affair with Darcy Lapierre. The two married 2 years after his divorce ended in 1994. They had a son named Nicholas, who was born on October 10, 1995. Unfortunately, much like his previous marriage, Van Damme had an affair with his Street Fighter co-star Kylie Minogue while they filmed in Thailand. Lapierre was pregnant with their son, Nicholas, at the time and was unaware of the affair until Van Damme admitted it to the public in 2012. Van was in a decade-long relationship with Ukrainian model Alina Kavarina, although he was still married to Gladys Portuguese at the time. Van Damme's life has been plagued with so many highs and lows, and we hope to see him overcome the challenges he's faced to become the best version of himself in the future. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel, and do let us know what you think about this episode.